It actually means a lot, because it's a great recognition for the work we put into this case. Whenever we start writing cases, at least I can say it for me and for David most likely as well, that's our ambition to always win the case award, because it really shows that the case is adapted at other universities as well, and it's not just used internally at INSEAD.
Yeah, so receiving the award means a great deal of for us, because we put a lot of work and preparation into creating cases that can be used for amazing experiences in the classroom, and so receiving the award really comes a confirmation that a lot of people are using this case around the planet, and we're quite happy about it.
Absolutely. I would say we're always into writing new cases. So the award is just another motivation, of course. Again, we think this is a great recognition, and if you receive these kind of recognitions, these awards, it inspires us to think about other ideas that we would like to bring into the classroom.
Yeah, so marketing is a very interesting topic to focus on, because it's at the intersection of a lot of the changes that are happening in the current world. We're talking about customer centricity. We're talking about changes in consumer behavior. We're talking about customer analytics, and so bringing these together and seeing how these changes like digital are changing markets. Facing functions is really a topic of growing interest for companies and students alike.
I mean, for me, it's funny, because I'm always teaching my finance and my accounting colleagues. I'm always saying they only exist because of marketing. Because at the end of the day, how we teach it, and the case is addressing this as well, that you have to create value for the customer before you can create value for yourself, for your organization. And that's why we think marketing plays a critical role. And in the past, it's often not defined very well. But if how we teach it, how we see it, it's really running a company from a market-oriented perspective.
So I think the case on Accor has received particular attention from the students and from educators, because it is a marketing problem, but it's more fundamentally, I think, around how organizations, and particularly marketing organizations, have to align in a digital world. So what this case is really about is how consumers in the hoteling industry increasingly rely on their reviews, and the reviews becomes sort of a backbone for the key performance indicator of the company. And if that's an indicator of your performance, if this e-reputations becomes key, what are the changes that need to take place in the marketing organization in terms of new skills, new talent, new organizations that really help companies such as Accor to meet that challenge? Working with the group really helped, because it has multiple facets, multiple business units. We can talk about luxury, non-luxury hotels, different problems and challenges depending on the geographies. And so I think it constantly reinforcing new ideas while we write the case, but also is very useful from the teaching note perspective to think about boundary conditions. So when do such business practices tend to be effective, and when business practices tend to work not well because of cultural changes or cultural specificities.
At the end of the day, I definitely prefer to have my own cases. And the reason is literally, it's just you can bring the story, or you can tell the story in the classroom in just a different way. We also want to make sure when we write a case, the company is absolutely on board. Just writing a case based on secondary materials is not giving you the insights that you would get from talking to people, like in this case, in the Accor case, where we talk to executives from the company, getting insights that are not public. And then if you talk about it in the classroom, and we see it also in the reviews from the student, they really prefer it if we teach cases where we have a deep knowledge ourselves. where we have talked to the people, and it just makes it more real for me as a teacher, and also more real for the students in the classroom.
We always have an ideal length for our cases. Typically, I try to limit myself or ourselves to 10 pages max. I think it's very important to be conscious of students' time, and and only give the necessary information. So what is important, though, is that even though it's important to have quite short cases, the teaching notes and the length of the teaching notes should be inversely proportional, I think, in our mind, to the length of the case, because that's really critical for educators around the world, and to get ideas, best practices on how to teach the case, what are the right questions, the right setup to trigger interesting conversations in the classroom.
I think how we think about cases is more what do we want to discuss in the classroom? What are the key frameworks or stories we would like to bring across, or topics that we would like to bring across? And then we think about, to David's earlier point, who in our network could be a person to reach out to. And if it's a smaller company that nobody is aware of, that's fine as well. Of course, if it's a company like Arcor, it definitely helps. It maybe also helps for other universities to pick up on the case, because sometimes they prefer having a case that is about one of the more well-known companies instead of the companies that they are not aware of. But at the end of the day, for us, it's definitely more important to think about the topic first, and then we think about the company.
It's actually very important to build like tight relationship with the protagonists, because they will give you the insider information. And so typically what we do, I think, together is we tend to attend a lot of the industry events, which give us a lot of ideas for what are the emerging cases, emerging potential hot topics. Maybe a second advice is to think about how to bring your protagonist in the classroom. So he or she can then really help understand like the ambience, the kind of problems and questions that students have, and even potentially record a session. And so just like trying to bring him or her closer to the academic environment is important.